All right, welcome back to Brooks Wellness. I am your fitness instructor and health coach, Lewis Brooks, and today we're going to be making burritos. Let me just go through the ingredients. Here we go. Tomato paste, garlic, onion, oregano, onion powder, cumin, paprika, chipotle, red beans, but you can kind of use whatever beans you want, garlic powder, guacamole, avocados, distilled vinegar, jalapeno peppers, and dehydrated onions, which I'm using too, and granulated garlic. So yeah, not bad. And then of course sour cream if you want. Oh, and just some Mexican style cheese. And in fact, I'm not even using cheese or sour cream. This is gonna be for my wife. I am using salmon. I was gonna make a chicken one, but essentially it's gonna be the same. This salmon doesn't have the skin on it, which I actually love. So it's pretty much going to be the same. If you're using chicken breast or salmon, you're going to have to use some oil in there because, or chicken breast or any fish, you're going to have to use oil because there's not a lot of fat on chicken breast. There is fat in salmon, but I don't want it getting stuck all over my cast iron pan. So let's go ahead and get started. This is a simple recipe, so this will actually be really quick, and it's a nice recipe to make if you are trying to get other things done. Like right now I'm doing the laundry and doing some chores, so this is kind of a nice one because you can let some of this sit. So I'm going to show you how to make it, and I'm going to show you a way to cook rice that maybe is different than maybe the way that you cook rice, but my rice almost always turns out like absolutely perfect. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So let's get started. Okay, so first you're going to start with just adding, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 cups of rice. I'm going to add some tomato paste. I'd say about 1/3 a container of tomato paste of the beans. I'm going to drain the liquid into the sink. Let's add the whole can of beans. Oh yeah, I forgot some chicken broth, a teaspoon of this, mix it with some hot water, which I'll show you in a second, and then I add that in there. About that much. Just add it into a regular cup and then just stir it in there. So it's gonna dissolve a little bit faster with the heat. Just keep stirring it in there. See, it's basically broken down. Doesn't take long. If the water is hot, it doesn't take long. Into this, we're gonna go ahead and season it. Add some garlic powder, maybe 2 teaspoons, a little bit of oregano, maybe 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of chipotle, 1 teaspoon of cumin. Add the chicken broth. All right, then we're gonna stir this in here. This is a quick process with this rice and beans. Like, you can't let this sit for long. And I'm gonna stir it as we go. You notice that I put all the water, I put all the ingredients in there. Everything's inside the pot. Sometimes when you read the directions for rice, it says that you're supposed to add the water and then add the rice after. You don't have to do that. But what you do have to do is make sure that the water is high enough over the rice. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more water because you could see, I mean, you want it higher than the rice, but this isn't that much higher than the rice. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more water in there. If I were making this where it was clear, you could see how much higher it is than the rice. Maybe 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch higher. It's just a little bit of oil. You can add butter in there. It doesn't matter. And then that's it. I put the top on, and I'm gonna bring it over to the stove, and I'm gonna put it on high. So let me just, okay, so I'm gonna take the rice that I just put together, that I just showed you. I'm gonna bring it over to the stove, put it on the small burner, turn it on high. Now, this is a tricky process, like I just said. What you wanna make sure you do is watch the rice. Now, I don't have to watch it absolutely right now, but you're gonna see in a second that rice is going to start smoking. So what's gonna happen is I need to get in there and just stir it up. Now you notice that what I did with the rice, all the ingredients I added to the rice minus the tomato paste and the beans, I'm gonna add into the fish while it's cooking on the cast iron skillet. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut into this onion, and we're gonna keep moving. All right, so we're gonna just cut this in half. And I am going to dice these, really. So okay, so we're over to our pan here, and we are going to turn the heat up to, I would say, medium high. Now, I will say with olive oil, you want to, because this is a thinner oil. Last week I talked about coconut oil and how it has a high smoke point. Olive oil has a low smoke point. Well, you've got to wait until the pan is hot before you put the olive oil in there, which it's probably hot enough now. We're gonna add some olive oil in, maybe 2 teaspoons. Add in the onions. You wanna go ahead and add some salt, add some pepper, 1 teaspoon of oregano, teaspoon of onion powder, same thing with garlic powder, about 1 teaspoon of paprika, and same thing with cumin, and same thing with chipotle. Mix this a little bit. So you can see the onions are starting to get a little bit translucent, so you can kind of see through them. I would say it'd be like 2 cloves of garlic. If you were cooking chicken breast, you probably would have to add a little bit more oil. Now the good thing about salmon is that we can kind of break it apart, and that's really what we want. Check on our rice. So if we just come over, our rice is boiling down, that's perfect. And eventually it's gonna get to a point where you can see the granules of rice. Once the water is below the top of the rice, you can just turn your heat off and let it sit. So I can flip it over now. So what we can do is we can go ahead and turn this temperature down. It's kind of like on medium low, so we'll just let it sit for a little bit, wait for this rice to get finished. It's coming along just fine, and I'll get you back here as soon as it's ready. I'll go do this. Yeah, see, so the meat's all done. Really low, like you could just basically almost turn the heat off. Okay, so I just wanted to show you what the rice looks like. There you go. Oops, sorry. So once it gets to this point where the water is kind of like you can see it a little bit, but it's basically underneath the rice. You can go ahead, leave the top on, turn the heat off completely, and just let it sit. So in fact, you can take it off the heat. All right, so while we're sitting here waiting, I'm just gonna go ahead. This thing is still really warm, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add in the flour tortilla on low. Just what you wanna do is you want them to be a little bit warm, because then they're flexible. If these things are cold, they just tear apart. So the rice has been sitting for a little, and that's it. You can see all the rice granules are puffy. Take a fork and kind of go through it, and you want to fluff it up a little bit. It's not how I like it, but it's not bad. All right, so let's go ahead and put together our burrito. Okay, so like I said, it's a little bit flexible. Now what you want to do is just keep in mind that you don't want to use too much rice on here. Don't add too much. I'm adding the cheese on here, which my wife loves cheese. Sour cream, as I fling cheese all over the place. And, come on. There we go. There. Okay, and we're going to add the fish in there. A little bit too much, and then you're just going to fold it, and see if we can wrap it in here. Just tuck it in there, get it tucked in there, and then hopefully they're not doing that with your burritos at the Mexican restaurant. Okay, so there you go. Nice little burrito. All right, now guacamole. I forgot it. And look, you can add the guacamole in if you'd like. In the same fashion, you can add the guacamole in the same fashion that I added the cream cheese in. So I'm gonna put guacamole on mine. I'm gonna put it on the inside. Do the same thing I just did with my wife's burrito. But of course, you can add the guacamole on top later. I just like it to be inside, so it's like a sandwich. Okay, so now we're back over to our pan. It's been on medium. We're just gonna add a little bit of olive oil, just a smidgen. We're gonna seal this in here. Okay, so it's only been like another second, and it looks like that. So we're gonna flip it over, nice and hot. There we go, just so you can see what it looks like on the inside. Here we go, and here you go. Yeah, so that's it. I hope that you enjoyed it. I will see you back in the classroom in 2 seconds.